When Princess Thessa of the Voranthi Empire married the human diplomat Kai Storm, she thought she was getting a harmless academic with soft hands and softer weapons. Humans were known across the galaxy as the species that talked their way out of conflicts, signed treaties instead of fighting wars, and preferred archaeology over artillery. But when an assassin's blade pierces the royal court and ancient enemies breach the palace walls, Thessa discovers that her husband's smile hides secrets sharper than any blade. The weapon he carries is not just a relic from Earth's violent past. It is something far more terrifying, something that makes even the most hardened Voranthi warriors step back in fear. As conspiracy unfolds and betrayal strikes from within, Thessa must confront a horrifying truth. The galaxy severely underestimated humanity, and her sweet, book-loving husband might be the most dangerous creature in the entire star system. The assassination attempt came during dessert, which Thessa would later reflect was remarkably poor timing on the assassin's part. She had been enjoying a rather excellent slice of Morvian sugar cake, the kind with the crystallized fruit that sparkled like tiny stars, when the hooded figure dropped from the vaulted ceiling of the dining hall, 20 feet of freefall, landing with practiced grace between her father's chair and her own. The blade in the assassin's hand gleamed with the telltale purple sheen of nightshade poison. Standard royal assassination protocol. Efficient. Professional. Boring, if Thessa was being honest. What was not boring was her husband's reaction. Kai Storm, human diplomat and Thessa's spouse of exactly 4 months, moved faster than any human should be able to move. One moment he was dabbing cream from his lips with a napkin, looking every bit the harmless academic. The next moment that same napkin was in the assassin's face, and Kai's foot connected with the attacker's knee in a way that produced a sound like snapping timber. The assassin went down hard. The poison blade clattered across marble floor, spinning to a stop near Thessa's golden chair. Kai picked it up with 2 fingers, examined it with the casual interest one might show a peculiar insect, then looked at Thessa's father, Emperor Volthan, with raised eyebrows. "Your Majesty, I believe someone is trying to kill you," Kai said pleasantly, as if commenting on the weather. How rude. The entire royal guard, all 12 of them, finally reacted. They drew their plasma rifles, surrounded the groaning assassin, and looked vaguely embarrassed that the human had responded first. Thessa stared at her husband, her soft, gentle, bookish husband, who spent his days cataloguing ancient texts and complaining about poor lighting in the archives. That husband. "What?" she said slowly. "Was that?" Kay set the poison blade on the table, well away from anyone who might accidentally touch it, and resumed his seat. He picked up his fork again. "What was what, darling?" he asked, cutting into his own dessert. You moved, like... That was." Thessa gestured vaguely at the assassin, who was now being dragged away by very large guards. "You are a diplomat." "I am," Kai agreed cheerfully. "Diplomats do not move like that. This one does." Emperor Volthan was watching Kai with narrowed eyes, his purple skin darkening to indicate deep thought. The Emperor was many things. Ruthless, cunning, and possessed of a tactical mind that had won 3 sector wars. Stupid was not on that list. "Human Storm," Volthan said carefully. "Perhaps you would enlighten us as to where a diplomatic attaché learned such combat techniques." Kai finished chewing, swallowed, and smiled. It was a perfectly pleasant smile, the kind that belonged on recruitment posters for peaceful negotiators. "Oh, you know," he said lightly. "Earth has mandatory service requirements. Everyone does a stint. I did mine. Nothing special." Thessa's mother, Empress Yara, set down her wine glass with a soft click. "You were military," she stated. "Past tense, yes. Very past. Ancient history, really. I file reports now. Very dull reports. Lots of paperwork. You would hate the paperwork." "What branch?" Volthan pressed. Kai's smile didn't waver. "Does it matter? I sign trade agreements now. Much less exciting, much less likely to result in interdimensional incidents." That last word hung in the air like smoke. Interdimensional. Thessa felt something cold slide down her spine. The Great War, 300 cycles ago, had involved interdimensional warfare. The scars still marked several planets. Entire species had been erased from existence. The weapons used had been banned by every civilized government in known space. Earth had been neutral in that war, claimed they were too young, too new to space travel, too unprepared for such conflicts. But what if they had not been unprepared? What if they had simply been smart enough to stay out of it? How many assassination attempts have there been since I married your daughter? Kai asked suddenly, looking at Vulthan. The Emperor's expression flickered. This was the 5th. 5 in 4 months. That is, if my math is correct, an attempt every 24 days. Kai leaned back in his chair. Someone really wants your throne, your majesty. Someone patient. Someone who has resources. Someone inside your own court. I would wager. We are investigating, Vulthan said stiffly. Are you? Because from where I am sitting, you have had 5 attempts and 0 arrests of whoever is ordering them. Kai's tone remained pleasant, but there was something underneath it now. Something sharp. That suggests either remarkable incompetence, which I know is not the case, or a conspiracy large enough that you cannot determine who to trust. Silence fell across the dining hall. The servants had all vanished. Even the guards looked uncomfortable. Thessa found her voice. You think there is a traitor among us? I think there are probably several, Kai said. Conspiracies are rarely one-person operations. Too much risk, too many moving pieces. No, this is organized. This is funded. This is someone with access to the palace schedule, the security rotations, and your family's private movements. He stood up, brushing crumbs from his formal jacket. If you will excuse me, I need to retrieve something from our quarters. He looked at Thessa. Would you accompany me, Princess? I think perhaps it is time I showed you what I brought from Earth. Thessa rose on shaking legs. She had thought she was marrying a diplomat, a scholar, someone safe. The walk to their private quarters felt longer than usual. Kai said nothing, but his eyes moved constantly, tracking guards, noting exits, watching shadows. Professional habits, Thessa realized with growing unease. Combat habits. Their quarters were in the Eastern Tower, spacious and luxurious, filled with wedding gifts and diplomatic correspondence. Kai went straight to the closet, pushed aside formal robes, and pressed his palm against what appeared to be solid wall. A hidden compartment opened. Inside was a long case, perhaps 4 feet in length, made of dark metal. Thessa did not recognize. Kai lifted it out carefully, almost reverently, and set it on their bed. Before we married, he said quietly, I told you that Earth values peace. That is true, we do value peace. We pursue it aggressively, in fact. His fingers moved across the case's surface, and locks disengaged with soft clicks. But peace, Princess, must sometimes be defended, and humanity learned long ago that hoping for peace while remaining unprepared for war is simply asking to be conquered. He opened the case. Inside, resting on dark foam, was a sword. But not just any sword. This was something else entirely. The blade was roughly 3 feet long, slightly curved, with a surface that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. The handle was wrapped in worn material that might have been leather. The entire weapon radiated an aura of age and use and purpose. This, Kai said softly, is called a katana. This particular one has been in my family for 800 years. It has a name. We call it Starfall. It is a blade, Thessa said, trying to understand why this felt so wrong. We have energy weapons, plasma rifles, particle cannons. Why would you carry something so primitive? Kai lifted the sword from its case. The moment his hand touched the handle, something changed. The air felt heavier, charged. The blade began to glow with a faint blue light that pulsed like a heart. Because this blade was forged on Earth during what we call the dimensional schism, Kai said. When reality itself was thin, and other things bled through. Humanity fought that war alone, Princess. We fought things from outside our universe. We won. The blue glow intensified, and we kept the weapons. Part 2. The blade hummed in Kai's hand, and Thessa realized with mounting horror that the glow was not coming from any power source she could identify. It was not plasma technology. It was not any energy signature her people's sensors could detect. It was something older, something that should not exist according to every physics text in the known galaxy. "You are telling me," she said slowly, "that humans fought a war against interdimensional entities, alone, and won?" "One is a strong word," Kai replied, still holding the sword. The blue light cast strange shadows across his face. "We survived. We closed the rifts. We learned. And we made very sure that if anything like that ever happened again, we would be ready." He looked at her directly. "Your great war 300 cycles ago, the one that terrified the entire galaxy, that was Tuesday for us." A knock at the door interrupted them. Sharp, urgent. "Princess Thessa, human storm. The Emperor requests your immediate presence in the war room." Kai sheathed the blade in one smooth motion. The glow faded but did not disappear entirely. He strapped the weapon across his back, adjusted his formal jacket to partially conceal it, and smiled that pleasant diplomatic smile. "Shall we, darling?" The war room was chaos. Holographic displays showed multiple breach points around the palace perimeter. Red alerts flashed across every screen. General Kryn, her father's most trusted military advisor, was shouting orders into a comm unit. Emperor Volthan looked 10 years older than he had at dinner. "We are under attack," he said without preamble. "Full assault. Multiple fronts. They have inside access codes. Our own security systems are compromised." "How many?" Kai asked, his tone shifting from pleasant academic to something else entirely. Something cold and calculating. "Initial estimates say 200 soldiers. Professional mercenaries. Cravathi elite guard based on their armor signatures." Kai whistled softly. "Someone spent serious money. Cravathi do not come cheap." "Can our forces repel them?" Thessa demanded. General Kryn shook his massive head. "They are already inside the inner palace. We are evacuating the royal family to the underground bunkers. But our defensive positions are collapsing faster than anticipated. Someone has been sabotaging our weapons systems for weeks. Half our plasma rifles will not fire. Our automated defenses are offline." "How long until they reach this room?" Kai asked. "Minutes. Perhaps 5. Maybe less." Kai turned to Volthan. "Your Majesty, I need you to answer a question honestly. If I stop this attack, if I use methods that might be considered extreme by galactic standards, will you have me arrested afterward?" Volthan stared at him. "What are you proposing?" "I am proposing that you let me do what humans do best." Kai's hand moved to the sword on his back. "We adapt, we overcome, and when diplomacy fails, we remember that we survived the end of our world once already." "You are one man," Kryn said. "One man with a primitive blade against 200 professional soldiers." Kai smiled, and this time there was no warmth in it at all. "General, do you know what the galaxy's biggest mistake has been regarding humanity?" He did not wait for an answer. "You all assumed that because we prefer peace, we are incapable of war. You assumed that because we smile and negotiate and compromise, we are soft." He drew the blade. The blue glow returned, brighter now. "We are not soft. We are efficient. We simply prefer not to waste resources on conflicts that words can solve." The sword's glow intensified until it lit the entire room. "But when words fail, we remember who we are." An explosion rocked the palace. Alarms screamed. The door to the war room buckled inward. "Everyone behind me," Kai said quietly. Now, they moved. Even Emperor Volthan, ruler of 14 star systems, moved when Kai's storm used that tone. The door exploded inward. Armored figures poured through, weapons raised. Cravathi elite guard wore armor that could withstand direct plasma hits. They carried rifles that could punch through starship hulls. Kai stepped forward to meet them. What happened next would be debated by military historians for decades. The human moved like water, like smoke, like something that existed between moments. The first mercenary died before he could raise his weapon. The second managed to fire, but Kai was not where the shot went. The third tried to activate his armor's shield system, and discovered that the blue blade cut through energy shields as easily as flesh. The sword sang as it moved. That was the only word Thessa could use later. It's Blue arcs of light followed each swing. Where the blade touched, armor split. Where it passed, weapons shattered. Kai moved through the mercenaries like a storm through dry leaves, and the glow from his sword grew brighter with each strike. Impossible, General Kryn whispered. That is impossible. But it was happening. 20 mercenaries became 15, 15 became 10, 10 became 5. The last mercenary, showing more intelligence than his companions, dropped his weapon and raised his hands. Smart choice, Kai said, not even breathing hard. Now you are going to tell me who hired you, or I am going to show you what else this sword can do. I do not know names, the mercenary gasped. We take contracts through intermediaries, but the voice was Voranthi. High Court. Someone close to the throne. Kay looked back at Volthan. Your Majesty, I believe you have a traitor problem. Multiple traitors, came a voice from the doorway. Thessa turned to see Lord Vexen, her father's chief advisor, standing in the entrance. Behind him were more soldiers. Loyal palace guards this time, but they had their weapons trained on the Emperor. Vexen, Volthan's voice was hollow. For 3 years I have consolidated power, Vexen said smoothly. 3 years of careful planning. Tonight was supposed to be simple. The mercenaries kill you, blame it on human terrorists, and the council appoints me as regent until your heir comes of age. He smiled. But then your daughter had to marry this particular human. You made a mistake, Kai said, conversationally. Several, actually. First you hired Cravathi. They're good, but predictable. Second, you underestimated me. Common error. Where humans are concerned. Third, and this is the important one, you are standing between me and my wife. I have 20 guards, Vexen said. You have a sword. Yes, Kai agreed. But you have never seen what this sword does at full power, have you? He raised the blade above his head. The blue glow became brilliant white. Energy crackled along the edge. This weapon was forged to cut through dimensional barriers, Kai said softly. To sever the connection between our reality and the hungry things outside. Do you know what that means, Lord Vexen? It means this blade cuts everything. Matter, energy, space itself. He brought the sword down in a single perfect arc. A line of white light erupted from the blade, shot across the room, passed through Vexen's guards without touching them, and struck the wall behind them. The stone simply ceased to exist. A perfectly smooth cut appeared, 10 feet long, showing the corridor beyond. The guards looked at where solid wall had been. Then they looked at their weapons. Then they looked at Kai. Then they dropped their weapons and ran. Vexen stood alone, his face pale purple with fear. You cannot kill me, he said desperately. I am nobility. There are laws. Yes, Kai agreed, lowering his sword. There are laws. Which is why I am not going to kill you. His Majesty will decide your fate. He smiled pleasantly. I am just a diplomat. After all, I prefer paperwork to bloodshed. The cleanup took hours. More conspirators were found. The security systems were purged and rebuilt. By dawn, the crisis had passed. Thessa found Kai on their private balcony, watching the sun rise over the capital city. The sword was back in its case, sealed away. You let the galaxy believe humans were weak, she said. We let the galaxy believe we were peaceful, Kai corrected. There is a difference. We are peaceful. We genuinely prefer negotiation to warfare. Treaties to territory disputes. Trade agreements to conquest. He looked at her. But peaceful does not mean helpless. It means we choose not to fight unless we must. And tonight you had to. Tonight I protected my family, Kai said simply. You are my family now, Thessa. I would cut through 1,000 dimensions to keep you safe. She stepped closer to him. What else do humans hide?
Oh, lots of things. Terrible things. Wonderful things. Things that would make your military scientists weep with joy and your ethicists weep with horror. He grinned. But that is the beauty of being human. We contain multitudes. We are capable of extraordinary gentleness and extraordinary violence. Often in the same person, sometimes in the same day. That is terrifying. Yes, Kai agreed, but it is also what saved your throne tonight. He took her hand.
The galaxy will learn eventually, probably sooner rather than later after this. Humanity is not weak. We are strategic. We observe, we learn, we adapt. And when we finally act, he looked out over the city, where morning light painted everything gold. We make sure it counts. Emperor Volthan appeared in the doorway, looking exhausted but alive. Human storm, he said formally. The Empire owes you a debt. No debt, Your Majesty, Kai replied. I was protecting my wife. That is what husbands do. Still, I would know more about these weapons, these capabilities. If humanity possesses such technology, Kai's expression became carefully neutral. With respect, Your Majesty. Humanity possesses many things we prefer to keep quiet. We share what we believe the galaxy can handle. The rest, he shrugged. The rest we keep locked away in quiet places guarded by people like me, people who understand that the greatest weapon is the one you never have to use. Because everyone fears what they cannot see, Volthan said, thoughtfully. Exactly. Mystery is often more effective than demonstration, Kai smiled. Though I suppose after tonight, the mystery is somewhat reduced. The galaxy will talk. Let them talk. Words are cheap. Action is what matters. Kai squeezed Thessa's hand. And humans have learned to be very, very careful about when we act. The sun cleared the horizon, flooding the balcony with light. A new day. A new understanding. Princess Thessa looked at her husband, this human who read ancient books and filed paperwork and carried weapons that could cut reality itself, and she smiled. I think, she said slowly, that I married the most dangerous man in the Empire. Second most dangerous, Kai corrected cheerfully. You have not met my sister yet. She pilots starships. Makes me look downright tame. Thessa laughed. It felt good to laugh after such a night. Behind them, the palace stirred to life. Repairs would be made. Justice would be served. Life would continue. But everyone would remember the night the harmless human diplomat revealed that humanity was never harmless at all. They were simply polite. There was a difference, and that difference had just lit the sky with blue fire and saved an empire.